Peter got nerfed. Now, I know you've heard others say it before, whether it be videos or comments, but I've seen way too many special needs Insomniac copers argue otherwise, so now I figure I'll articulate it in my usual, supreme, intelligent, objective fashion, and I'll later reference better Spider-Man media that handles it better. Peter within Insomniac'S Spider-Man 2 loses every single fight against the main character when he isn't using the symbiote or being assisted by Miles Morales. I said this in my past videos, but morons still argued, so now I'll list off every single fight. Sandman. Now, I can excuse Spider-Man needing help to take out a giant version of Sandman similar to Spider-Man 3 sorta, and Spectacular Spider-Man where he doesn't really beat this big version of Sandman. But you know what these two Spider-Men are good enough not to do? They're good enough not to get folded via zipping right towards Sandman's face to punch him as if it would do anything, only to get knocked down into the sand where Miles has to save him. This isn't his first fight with Sandman, by the way. Kraven, who has now become ridiculously overpowered, ends Spider-Man in under a minute. Harry later has to give Spider-Man the symbiote so he doesn't die. He almost died to stupid shit like this, not to mention the dumb predictability of where this was all going. People have given some excuses like him not being ready for Kraven's enhanced strength, but even then, that shouldn't mean you instantly die to what's only an enhanced human. Spider-Man has strength that can stop trains and enhance speed, so maybe he shouldn't just pathetically die to an above average human. Spider-Man should have been ready for him to be this tough anyway, since he already knew Kraven killed Scorpion. Scorpion, who's supposed to be a villain that's as strong and as fast as Spider-Man. Gosh, the scaling of Kraven being this overpowered is just ridiculous, but I already covered it in my last video. But anyway, let's give another better example yet again. Spectacular Spider-Man, where Peter also gets his ass beat in under a minute. Not as ridiculously severe as Kraven, but his ass does get beat. Now this scene actually makes sense because this is Spider-Man's very first time seeing Tombstone, which justifies Spider-Man's mistake of underestimating him, unlike Kraven. Spider-Man obviously wouldn't expect some corrupt businessman to be this tough, unlike the certain real-life corrupt businessmen that can't really be named on YouTube. But anyway, despite that loss, Spider-Man later defeats Tombstone near the ending of the show, which is some hella great payoff that shows character progress, as opposed to Kraven where Spider-Man never beats this guy without the symbiote. We never see Kraven get overpowered by anything except the symbiote, so therefore those shitty shorts have no real proof of Spider-Man being stronger. But yeah, speaking of the symbiote, later in the story, Peter fights the lizard and wins this fight, but it's with the symbiote, and they make sure that you know he only wins this fight exclusively because of the symbiote when they have the symbiote heal him from a serious fight-ending injury against the lizard, as opposed to other media that shows the black suit as something that makes things easier, not something that's a crutch that he absolutely needs. Let's look at an actual good symbiote story, Spider-Man Web of Shadows, as a giga example. S.H.I.E.L.D. has a symbiote device that will kill every symbiote infecting the city without killing any of the hosts. This, of course, forces Spider-Man to give up his symbiote as well, so long as you choose a good ending at least. But plot twist, though, as Venom and a bunch of other symbiotes seem to have gotten onto the S.H.I.E.L.D. helicarrier. Spider-Man, like a true Giga Chad, goes off to fight all the symbiotes without the black suit, and even holds his own against a giant Venom symbiote monster. Now that is some Giga shit, but speaking of symbiotes, let's start to get into Insomniac'S various Spider-Man symbiote L's. In a Kraven jail tournament, Miles Morales defeats the murderer of his dad and his new arch nemesis, Mr. Negative. I wish Peter could have beat a villain on his own, but anyway, Miles frees Mr. Negative to go get help, and Peter goes to help Miles, who Kraven has defeated and captured off-screen, as can be shown by the hurt state of Miles. Miles has 1 loss and Peter is at like 5 losses or near-death experiences, but anyway, Peter fights Kraven and gets the win, but it seems to be portrayed as him only getting the win due to the black suit. Black Suit Spider-Man is about to take things too far by killing Kraven, but Miles Morales somehow gets out of his cage in the short time they were fighting despite his hurt state, and stops Spider-Man from killing Kraven. And this starts our boss fight where Symbiote Peter somehow takes a hard L to Miles Morales, even though he was just hurt by Kraven, who he was originally captured by. Peter is amplified by the symbiote, and has just beat Kraven without breaking too much of a sweat. But Miles, who just lost to Kraven, somehow beats Spider-Man, and even outstrengths him in this one shot here. This shit ain't mathing. I can possibly understand Miles Morales beating Peter, but Black Suit Peter doesn't math, especially given the circumstances I just explained. But anyway, after Miles basically beats him, he convinces Peter to take off the black suit, which I find sort of destroys the whole beauty of how that arc usually plays out, that moment where Peter has an intense moment of self-reflection as he sees how the symbiote and his new ways of doing things are going too far and causing him to lose everyone. Miles Morales going as far as to say these things for him as he beats his ass sort of takes away from that. I mean, like, I could rework it in a way that keeps the essence of Insomniac'S spin, but in a better way, where Black Suit Peter is winning despite Miles putting up a good fight or holding his own. But then as he's winning, he's getting close to being too brutal towards Miles, who's one of the most important people to him. He stops and catches himself and makes the changes accordingly and takes off the black suit as he sees the monster he's becoming, a tad bit similar to BVS, but no. The symbiote L's don't stop though. Even when the symbiote is in a jar, Peter brings the symbiote back to Oscorp, but not to give it to Sick Harry who needs it, but to destroy it due to what it can do. A Sick Harry who can barely walk somehow proceeds to hit the canister, and Spider-Man just loses his superhuman reflexes and just lets it happen. I'm not even going to talk about the 82 ways you could have wrote that better. Just goggle at this amazing Spider-Man footage, which shows how it should have went. Like, the whole symbiote invasion is about to start because Spider-Man couldn't dodge hits from a cripple. But anyway, after Harry becomes Eddie Brock's character, Spidey gets thrown into a bunch of boxes and he's out of the fight as Venom goes on a rampage and fights Kraven, who ends up putting up more of a fight than Spider-Man, before dying to Venom. This is the first Kraven ever who didn't lose to a normal Spider-Man. If they kept him around, maybe Insomniac would have had Kraven fight Thanos. They seem to treat Kraven like more of a hero than Spider-Man for some odd reason. But anyway, throughout all the chaos in the city caused by Venom's symbiotes, Venom later shows up at Peter's house to recruit Spider-Man. Venom launches his large amount of inches at Spider-Man, where MJ reacts faster than Spider-Man and takes a hit for Peter somehow as Peter gets knocked into a fridge that falls on top of him and pins him. I've seen cucks try to argue that, oh, it's just 2 seconds he was down for, but no, they make an effort to show him get pinned for around 11 seconds, as could be shown by my timer. And beyond the fridge, just look at how this shit is shot. I know you've seen 19-inch memes about it, but it's briefly shot as if Spider-Man is getting cocked as Venom digs down his 2 out of 10 girl. We briefly can't see what's happening under the table. For all I know, Venom is giving her the rod and infecting her with symbiote bust. Like, gosh, you can pretty much tell the writers at Insomniac clearly dislike this character. If they really like this character, then why would they take a guy who stops trains and blocks a punch from Rhino while fighting the Sinister Six, and then trap him under a fridge for 12 seconds as he watches his 2 out of 10 that the devs turned her into get ticked down? Like the game's fan base, I guess the writers are really into being in the shoes of a cuck. Anyway, after Venom busts a hot symbiote load into Lord Farquaad's hot mouth, she becomes a completely different character known as Scream. And after getting bitched at by her, he loses to Scream in the end cutscene after the boss fight. I had some morons comment on my last video that Peter didn't lose, but that's pretty much objectively wrong. Peter is getting choked out by Scream until Mary Jane decides to let him go, and then MJ yells at Peter for him to do something so that she could release herself. This is a loss. Unlike Web of Shadows once again, where Spider-Man gets to stay badass and beats a bunch of symbiotes and a black cat that got infected with the symbiote. Black Cat also gets her original design instead of just an existing character for no reason. But anyway, beyond a boss fight loss, Peter loses to regular lower tier symbiotes and gets fully infected again, and Miles and Mr. Negative end up having to go into his mind and save him. And then he ends up getting the anti-Venom symbiote, which is a symbiote that gives him all the benefits of the regular symbiotes, except he has full control over himself. It also counters and cleanses the regular symbiotes from other people, which sounds great, right? Maybe he won't get folded by Venom anymore. Wait, he's still getting his ass kicked. He's not even holding his own, he's just getting his ass kicked still, and paraded like a ragdoll. Yeah, as said before, the way this is all being presented is making it quite clear that they don't like this character, as has been shown with many other examples throughout the game. With the exception of losing to Kraven, Miles has never been shown not holding his own throughout the game, whether it be him saving the day more than Peter can or him not getting folded by Venom. The way Miles is competently being betrayed is how Peter should also be betrayed. At this rate, I'd have to say the nerfing of Peter is pretty much racially motivated, and that's coming from someone who isn't even white. It's just too much to be a coincidence. Miles is even more powerful than Peter Parker from a core gameplay perspective. And then there's Mysterio with his various missions in a bunch of challenge rooms, and you could only play them as Miles for some reason. Not that it would matter, because Miles is also better via the fact that he would clear the rooms faster, so therefore you'd want to play as him over Peter even if you had the choice. I don't know, man, it seems pretty deliberate, doesn't it? But beyond that, one can say it's sexually motivated, and by sexually motivated I don't mean the slew of flags and geisha that doesn't belong in a game that a bunch of 8-year-olds will play, as I covered before. I mean Rambo run and gun MJ who defeats hunters and symbiotes and breaks out of the symbiote on her own while Peter gets his ass kicked throughout everything that happens in the game. I don't know why MJ is a part of these fight scenes when Venom can just one-shot her or take her hostage, but whatever. Venom being defeated is a 2v1 win, or a 3v1 which somehow includes MJ. I know Venom is as powerful as Spider-Man if not more, but it's a part of Spider-Man's character that he usually always finds a way. Sure, he had help when he was saved by Harry in Spider-Man 3, but Spider-Man 3 wasn't treating Spidey like a punk in that movie, unlike this overrated symbiote story. Spider-Man has red suit wins in that movie, such as beating a version of Harry who is his proper character, and then had Sandman somewhat on the ropes in their first battle and caused Sandman to not be successful in his robbery attempt. But yeah, I can keep going when it comes to better examples. Even Tom Holland losing one fight to Mysterio and a bunch of drones he's never fought before is more excusable than the crap that happens in this game. You guys know it's messed up when you guys have me talking about Tom Holland. Sam Raimi once again, where Doc Ock only beats him when he stops a train, whether it be the movie or the actual good video game version of Spider-Man 2. Oh, yeah, let's end off with another Spider-Man game with a better story. Spider-Man Edge of Time, where Peter straight up dies, but he goes out fighting like a badass in an over 10-minute boss fight against Anti-Venom, who has the ability to take Spider-Man's powers. Just look at the cutscene that at least pays him respect when he goes out.
Come on, Spidey. Hold it together. Just another few seconds. Just get your strength back.
No, not this time!
He gets revived later, but dang, that was badass. Edge of Time is so goated that I want to edge to it till the end of time. Okay, but anyway, it's a game with two Spider-Men that they treated respectfully despite having one be more powerful than Peter debatably. But yeah, I went through every fight with Insomniac'S Spider-Man 2, and unless you want to count nameless thugs, it's a fact that he loses all the time. There's a side mission where he fights Yuri, who becomes a light Punisher knockoff vigilante called Wraith, but that fight shows no conclusion, and looks like more of a draw against a mere human somehow. Honestly, the seeds for this dog shit were planted a while ago. Not just with him losing a 1v1 to Rhino, but since their very first game where Spidey was taking mini L's to a mere human like Silver Sable, as I already called out in my review of the first game. But it sure has got a lot worse than the first game, but oh well. There's more I can ramble about, like Peter's strength being nerfed by having him be pinned under debris that doesn't look big enough, unlike other media where he gets pinned under something more understandable, but I'll be here all day if I keep going with this. Some guy managed to make an 18-minute video compiling Peter getting saved and injured, which definitely says enough. I'm sure I'll have insane copers come at me and try to argue something that's as objective as every fight I went into. They'll come up with some BS max cope logic like using an actual good movie like Spider-Man 2 and saying he was nerfed by the stress of Aunt May dying and that's why he gets folded in like every single fight. But that was something that was more clearly conveyed in the plot of Spider-Man 2's movie when they showed his powers not working. Don't use a story moment from an actual good Spider-Man story to justify your shit brain rot plot that only dumbins can enjoy casually on a first playthrough at generous best. Oh, and I almost forgot, Peter is apparently getting nerfed because he's old now. These morons are really trying to treat 25 as a declining age, when that age is clearly more around the 30s for anyone that knows a mere fraction about how athletes work, on top of the fact that I'd assume spider power DNA would leave him less susceptible to such declines, if not the new symbiote that Peter has just got. Like, gosh, why would he be retiring at this age? This is so ass that other media I roasted for kicking the ass of their protagonists like Boba Fett and Loki don't look as bad anymore, as I'm sure they don't get treated as badly and are given a win at some point. But yeah, that's enough rambling. I already wasted enough time going through every fight because of the denial of these fools. I think it's best that I start covering better Spider-Man stories instead, like the actual good version of Spider-Man 2. But anyway, check out my media and my link tree like my Twitter, Instagram, Discord, where the geniuses are, or Patreon if you wish to pay me for spitting the facts that the other docile YouTubers are afraid to say. But anyway, thanks for watching.